Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to go ahead and get started with today's webinar, Get Educated, No Mold, and No Risk. Welcome to ISSA and NORMI's webinar. We are thrilled you're here. I'm your host, Hannah Kennedy Oates, and on behalf of ISSA, I welcome you. Just a few housekeeping items before we get started today. We will answer questions at the end of the presentation. So go ahead and type your questions in the box that you'll have available on your screen. We're monitoring that, so at the end we'll be able to see those and get those answered. Also, you will receive a copy of this presentation when this is over. Within the next 24 hours, we'll be sending out an email with it, so don't worry if you're taking notes, or if you're not, we'll have a copy of everything for you. Now, we're thrilled to have Doug Hoffman, Executive Director of NORMI, and Rod Morton, Senior Vice President of IOA Insurance Office of America, here with us today. Both gentlemen have extensive experience in this field. Doug Hoffman is the Executive Director of NORMI, the National Organization of Remediators and Mold Inspectors, and author of Mold-Free Construction. NORMI and ISSA have formed a strategic alliance so that each of its members can benefit from the services and training of each organization. NORMI was formed in 2004 and has become a leading training provider in the mold industry and gains its credibility from the 5 states that now offer licensing for mold professionals. Doug's background in the construction industry and understanding of the indoor air quality issues have put NORMI in a unique position to help ISSA members and have a better understanding of how IAQ and mold issues impact commercial and industrial indoor environments. This presentation is an opportunity to share some of the benefits of NORMI membership for those who are concerned indoor air quality and want training or to take advantage of the significant insurance premium discounts that NORMI membership can offer you through IOA. Again, that's the Insurance Office of America. We also have Rod Morton, Senior VP, and David Hendrick, Vice President, to represent Insurance Office America, which is one of the top 10 privately held commercial properties and casualty agencies in the U.S. So without further ado, Doug, Rod, and David, welcome. Take it away.
Well, thank you very much for this opportunity to share some of the information that we have about NORMI to this great group of folks. And I would be derelict if I didn't thank you and all of your team for helping to facilitate this and put this together. When I met with John Garfunkel, John Garfunkel and John Barrett, and the entire team a year and a half ago about building this strategic alliance, I think we hadn't really seen all of the benefits that we would be able to offer, but we knew that we would be able to develop a really good program for the ISSA membership. So I'm very excited to be here today and share this information with you. And I think we've got some really cool things to talk about. As you can imagine, having been with NORMI as the Executive Director since 2004, I could spend a lot of time talking about us and a lot of different benefits that we offer, but I want to focus in on 3 things today so we can take a short period of time to talk about things that are important to the ISSA membership, and then hopefully we'll be able to answer some questions at the end. So the 3 things that I want to talk about today are some credibility that we think we can add to those who are interested in developing their interest in the IAQ industry and mold specifically. I want to talk about insurance options that we have, and that's why Rod and David are in the room with us today to talk about some of the things that they're going to be able to do with these NORMI membership benefits. And then I also want to talk about training. I think we've got a great opportunity to expand some training opportunities for both online and on-site opportunities for the ISSA membership. And I think you're going to find that a huge benefit to the NORMI membership. So let me just make a couple of points, and I'm not going to read all this slide. Obviously, you can read for yourself. But I think it's important to realize that we get our credibility from the states that recognize us as a training provider and proctored exam giver for licensing in those 5 states that require licensing, and that's Florida, Louisiana, DC, New York, and Texas. There are no other organizations at this point that are approved for all 5 states, and I think that's obviously very important for you to know that you're dealing with somebody who has the credibility to talk about these subjects in a very powerful way. We've also developed NORMI professional practices, which is the best practices standard and guideline for the mold industry, something that's a little unusual and something that's been desperately needed for years in this industry. And of course, we want to assist and mentor facilities maintenance directors and others who are interested in the indoor air quality side of this industry. I think all of us deal with employee concerns, and we want to make sure that we're being proactive about our this interest in indoor air quality and mold problems, making sure that we're addressing those correctly. Obviously, we have a lot of benefits we could talk about: discounted training, discounted insurance, discounted products and other services that we have, but mostly support. That's one of our biggest things, is to offer support to our members and make sure that they're getting their questions answered. I'll talk about training in just a minute, specifically to the ISSA organization, but at this point, I want to mention the insurance side of our membership, which we think will help you tremendously. So I'm going to invite into the room to talk just a minute or two about himself, Rod Morton, Senior Vice President of IOA, Insurance Office of America, and David Hendrick, who is also a Vice President and partner with IOA, Insurance Office of America. And we've developed a relationship with them, with the NORMI organization. And so, Rod, if you could, you and David talk just a few minutes, if you can, a little bit about your background, how you got involved in the insurance industry, and why you think it would be a good thing for us to be able to offer some benefits to the ISSA membership. Rod?
Okay, well, I'll go first then. Doug, I've been in the insurance business all my life. My dad was in the insurance business and started in 1925 in the state of Florida. So I've cut my teeth on insurance. So I've been in IOA for the last 26 years as senior vice president. And I just feel that our association with NORMI has been a great one. We've known each other for many years, and because of his in-depth understanding of the industry he's in, and my in-depth understanding of the business I'm in, so we were able to develop a very good program for the NORMI members by making sure that our underwriters, our insurance carrier underwriters, were able to access NORMI's training and what have you, and vet it very, very carefully. And that's why discounted insurance was developed.
Yeah, thank you, Rod. That's great, and I think we started with a really good relationship, and it just gets stronger as we're able to develop some insurance programs for our members. David, can you talk a little bit about your background?
Yes, I've been with IOA for 19 years. I've been in insurance for 20. I was in construction prior to that and was an engineering major at UCF. I'm actually a third-generation insurance professional, and I'm here actually in support of Rod, and together we analyze everything, break it apart, and put it back together our own way. That's what we feel is best for our clients. We always put our clients first and let the chips fall where they may.
Well, thank you very much. One of the things that has been interesting, and Rod mentioned this, is that when we first started building our relationship, the NORMI relationship with IOA, Rod, you had gone through our training, gone through our best practices and professional practices and our certification process, and you had spent quite a bit of time with the underwriters making sure that you were dealing with an organization that knew what it was doing. So I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that, about why you feel like it's so important that this NORMI relationship be expanded to ISSA from a training standpoint.
Well, I tell you that IOA is a full type of agency. We handle everything from A to Z, and we have over 50,000 clients, and insurance premiums of over $2 billion. So we know our stuff, and we go through and make sure that the claims are handled properly and that efficiently, and we're on your side, not the insurance carrier side when it comes to claims. We want to make sure that you get the best bang for the buck, more or less. And that's pretty well what we strive to do, because we're client oriented. Like David and I, in IOA is different than a public owned insurance agency, because we are involved with our clients because we are shareholders of IOA, and that makes a big difference in handling accounts, because we're not using just numbers like most of the public insurance companies, agencies are doing, because they're hired employees. We're not. We're owners, and that makes a big difference.
So this slide that we're looking at, and you and I talked about this some time ago, you are already involved, obviously, in the janitorial industry, and you understand this industry. You've got risk services already that you're providing for the janitorial industry. And you were talking about that we're going to be putting together some programs where there are some significant insurance premium, maybe discounts for those who become NORMI members. Can you chat about that for a sec?
Yeah, well, David and I are going to the insurance marketplace, and we insure most of the major companies in America. We have 50 locations throughout the United States. So we want to make sure that we tap in the resources that will provide the janitorial service a wonderful premium discount based on the training that they receive and the training that is under NORMI, that makes it eligible for a discount from the insurance carrier standpoint. And David, you might want to mention something on that.
Yeah, we definitely.
Hello, David.
Yeah, I'm here. So we definitely look at that $2 billion in premium that we have, and we use that and leverage that relationship with the insurance carriers. So, for example, say your premium might be $20,000 a year or something like that, but we might have, say, $35 million with one carrier. We go to that carrier and say, hey, this isn't $20,000, this is $35 million. What are you going to do for our client? So we have no problem leveraging and using those economies of scale to drive the best results for our clients.
So if I were an ISSA member and I decided that I wanted to join NORMI today, become a NORMI member, and we'll chat a little bit about that in a second. Of course, they're going to be listed on our website as an ISSA associate affiliate member. How would I find out how I could save money on my insurance premium?
It's a good question, Doug, and I think that what we have to do is make sure that we understand what they currently have in place for their insurance program. We would review that and then get back with them with an insurance proposal so they can compare what they have today and what they would expect to have as a discounted insurance premium from IOA. Now, we might add to that some things that the other agent that they have currently have missed. In other words, workers' comp or errors and admissions, professional liability, something of that nature might be suggested in our proposal.
So one of the things that we found that we really love about working with you guys is that with our NORMI members, a lot of them will come to a class maybe for the first time and they don't realize that they have this benefit. And then when they find out, they can actually contact you and have their insurance assessed. And what they find out, maybe this is common in the janitorial side as well, but what they find out is that the insurance that they had didn't cover some of the risk that they felt like they needed to cover, and yet their agent hadn't told them that. So that's the kind of thing you're talking about, that you can review their insurance, you can kind of make sure that the insurance fits their business model.
Exactly, Doug, and that's a very good point, because in some states they require professional liability only. They don't talk anything about the general liability, the exposure, or the workers' comp. They only talk about what is required for their license, and that's professional errors and admissions liability. So even though they other agents might just want to satisfy that one requirement under the license, they have so many other risk exposures that need to be handled.
Yes, I'll tell you, this is a really good example of that, just kind of anecdotal, but in the state of Louisiana, which has a mold remediation licensing requirement, they require their remediators to carry $60,000 of insurance coverage. And of course, in the remediation industry, you wouldn't want to cover any less than $1 million. I mean,
that's for sure.
$60,000 is nothing. So sometimes the states don't match the actual risk that's there. So that's great, guys. Thank you so much. We've talked a little bit about the credibility. We've talked about the insurance benefit and the discounts that might be able to be offered to you through the NORMI membership. The last thing that I want to share with you is this concept of training, because I think this is a big part of what we do. And we're so excited to be able to work with Lucas and with Brant. We've been putting together some training programs, online training with the ISSA organization, but there's more coming. We're currently obviously a training provider in multiple states on the mold assessment and the mold remediation training. We have a firm membership where we allow our individual members to get a company membership. And with that firm membership, they get actually free training for their employees, and that's been a huge hit. We just started it about 1.5 years ago, and we're developing that program and adding more training in for free so that they can get their folks trained and all speak the same language, which we think is incredibly important to mitigate liability. Then we also have, as I suggested, been developing with ISSA to help develop their online library. We've got some courses that are going in there now on IAQ, on building sciences, some mold classes as well. So a lot of stuff going on that I think is going to be exciting for the ISSA membership. And then we also have, which is probably the thing that I want to focus on for a second, which is probably the most important benefit that we can offer with NORMI membership, is this on-site customized training. Both in Las Vegas at that conference, and then recently at the Clean Building Expo, where we also did a training. There was a lot of interest in facility maintenance, or from facilities maintenance directors, who were concerned about what they should do if they had a indoor air quality or mold problem to avoid the potential litigation that might be there, or employee complaints. How is it that they could get involved in that industry but not actually have to be licensed or trained or certified or anything like that? And so we've been able to customize training for the ISSA membership, and we're going to continue to do that, where we can go on site and train the employees on the things that they need to know about for indoor air quality and also for the mold issues, but then be able to be trained so that they know what they can do on site, and even if they have to outsource it, know that it's being outsourced properly, and that the work that's being done is being done utilizing the correct standards. And of course, that training is designed and customized for your specific facility. Every indoor environment is different. I use this example a lot and people connect with it, but my wife and I live in our home without any kinds of animals. As soon as our house sells, if a family of 5 moved in with 2 cats, the indoor air quality would change completely. And so every indoor environment has its own unique indoor air quality environment. And whether it's a mold issue or a bacterial issue or a Legionella issue or whatever it happens to be, That's what we're trained to teach about, and to help people understand what protocols should be in place to make sure that their indoor air quality is the best that it can possibly be. So those three things I wanted to chat with you about, and we'd be glad to take any questions that might be there. Credibility, obviously insurance benefits, and the training that we have available. If you're interested in joining, you go to join.normi.org, use the coupon code in all caps ISSA, and you will get our NORMI membership with all of its benefits at half of the normal price. We charge $18 a month for our NORMI membership. You'll get it for $9 by using this coupon code, and then you can go in there, kick the tires. You can cancel it anytime you like, but we think that you'll stick with us as we develop more programs for ongoing training, continuing education training programs, and give you the kind of support, hopefully, that you need and want for understanding better the indoor air quality and the mold industry. So I'm going to turn it back over to the staff right now. We've covered the material I wanted to cover, and thank everybody for taking the time to be here.
Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in, and thank you, Doug, Rod, and David, for amazing presentations. We do have a few questions before we go today, and I think these might be more directed to Doug. The first question is, so if someone doesn't have a mold issue, are there other indoor air quality issues where NORMI might be able to help?
Yes, that's a great question. In fact, when we do an assessment and train on assessment, we always talk about mold as being only one of the indoor air quality issues that are out there, kind of under the umbrella of indoor air quality. So when you look at the components of indoor air quality problems, particulates, odors, gases, biologicals, you're dealing with a whole host of different types of contaminants: bacterial contamination, fungal contamination, high elevated particulate counts, dust, a lot of those kinds of issues. And yes, that's what we talk about in our training, and we can help facilities understand what issues that they may need to deal with. And really, better than that, which is the exciting thing of where we've gone in the last few years with technology, is we have information on monitoring programs where you can make sure that there are not issues. So if somebody complains, you can say, nope, we're taking care of that. So it's an opportunity to not only understand what those issues are, but resolve them and be able to prove that what they're seeing in the indoor air environment is normal to expected ranges.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We've got a few more questions here that have popped up. Also, this question is directed to Doug. Which states require licensing?
Yes, the states that require licensing for the mold industry and the mold profession has been split into two different areas: the assessment side of the industry and the remediation side of the industry. The assessor is the one who finds the problem and writes the protocol to solve the problem, and the remediator is the one who actually does the work. And those two segments are split. So the 5 states that require licensing and that we do training and exam giving for is Texas, Louisiana, Florida, New York, and the District of Columbia. I know the District of Columbia is not a state, but that's normally the way we talk about it, is those 5 governing agencies have licensing laws for mold assessment and mold remediation.
Awesome. Okay, a few more here. Are some commercial environments exempt from meeting licensing requirements?
Absolutely, and that's a great question. You noticed on our training slide, I showed you about military bases, for instance. That's military bases and municipal buildings, of course, are exempt from the people that work there having to be licensed. And many of the other facilities are actually exempt from licensing. And so that sounds like a really good deal, except that military bases and those types of areas that I was talking about are concerned about their guys knowing how to do it correctly, because there's still health concerns, whether you have to be licensed or not. There's still concerns about doing it correctly, making sure the problem is solved, that it's not going to come back, fixing whatever building issues there are, and so forth. And so a lot of companies that don't have to be licensed still want their people to understand how it should be done, or understand when to pass it off to somebody who is licensed. So yeah, whoever asked the question is exactly correct. Most of the states do not require facilities to be licensed. And of course, all the licensing is for individuals, not necessarily for companies. So there are a lot of exemptions out there. Somebody has a specific question, they could email us directly at support@normi.org, and we could talk with them about their state.
Excellent. And I think we've got one more question here that's popped up. Is there an easy-to-do-it-yourself way to assess environments for mold or other indoor air quality issues?
Yes, there is. There are several that are easy to use, and we do talk about that. In fact, in our presentation in Las Vegas, and the one that we'll do again this coming year for ISSA, we did in Dallas, and we're going to do in Vegas. Yes, we talk about that very thing. There are some do-it-yourself kits that are very good to use. We recommend a book by Burroughs entitled Managing Indoor Air Quality. Was written specifically for facilities maintenance directors, and it's a 5-step process on what you can do, phases 1 through 5, what you can do before you actually have to hire a professional. And that's what we do training on. So you can do the first 3, and some of that might include some simple diagnostics, including a screening process or do-it-yourself testing kit. But at some point, you're probably going to want to turn it over to a professional and let them do the assessment and the remediation.
Awesome. Excellent. Thank you so much. I believe those are all the questions we have today. I want to send a special thank you shout out to Doug, Rod, and David for their time and their expertise. And thank you to all of our listeners for tuning in. Again, a copy of this presentation will be sent to you within the next 24 hours. And as Doug said, you can email them directly if you have any specific questions that were not asked or answered during this presentation. So thank you to everyone, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Approximately 300 courses are currently available, and ISSA will continue to add original content, purchased content, and course